Hi, my name is Molly Korte. I founded Project Just Like You in 2016 after my son Jacob was diagnosed with autism. It was important for me to start sharing stories to show how we are all more alike than different. Tonight, we're celebrating February's Heart Month, and tonight we have with us Claire George. She is a CHD mom, an author, and a public speaker. And we are very excited to have her with us. Tonight is Movement Monday. It's a new initiative of Project Just Like You. Our goal here is to support the special needs community and introduce you to people who we find important and relevant to our mission. Join our movement by watching Movement Mondays each week. They are produced by Fiat Media TV. And so we want to give them a huge shout out and say thank you for all the work that they do with us each week to make these videos possible. I hope you'll take a moment to share the button and tell your friends about what you're watching. Tonight, one lucky person who contributes a relative question or comment during our live session will win a Sweet Frog premium frozen yogurt. We want to give a huge shout out to Sweet Frog as well for their contribution to making these videos possible. So we'll start in just a minute. But before we do, we want to know where you're from. So if you could please comment in the section, and we'll give shout outs to you guys when you join us and when you comment in. So please let us know where you're from. And we have a number of followers from different countries too. So if you're from a different country tonight, we want to thank you for being here. And we'd love to know where everyone is watching from. We're also going to be monitoring our comments during our talk tonight. So feel free to post and as often as you like. And we'll try to get to as many of you during the interview. Again, we welcome Claire George tonight. Claire is a heart mom. And after her son Thomas Kenneth George II tragically passed away after his third heart surgery at the age of 3, Claire decided to explore the biblical, pastoral, and theological perspectives on child loss to help her and others who are suffering. She continues to minister in the church Thomas called a home. She is currently a doctor of ministry. She's currently a student in a Doctor of Ministry degree program. The impact of her loss has been significant, touching every area of her life and being. It has changed her in more ways than she could ever imagine. It has given her the capacity to empathize and have more compassion for those who suffer. Mending broken hearts has become her passion. She is thankful that her love never dies, and the memories of her loved ones are always with us. Ways than she could ever imagine. She invites you to celebrate her son's life by checking out the website www.clairegeorge.com. And that website should be posted. You should be able to see that website. On the website, you'll find memories, video, and photo galleries, blogs, and soon a book. She says that the tears are healing and joy can be found again, even in the wake of loss. Welcome, Claire. We're excited to have you here with us tonight. I'm thankful for your honesty and your willingness to share your story. We all want to hear about your journey with Thomas Kenneth George II. So, Claire, welcome.
Thank you, Molly.
Yeah, thank you.
On tonight.
We're excited to have you, and we feel like this is the most wonderful way to top off Heart Month is with you being our final guest here for February. Yeah. So, can you tell us about Thomas Kenneth George II's life and your experience with CHD, Claire?
Definitely. My son is my favorite subject to talk about.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
Yes, indeed. I love him so much.
I can only imagine, of course. So go ahead. We know that he was your only child.
That's right.
Yeah.
My husband and I have only been able to have one child, and we hope that we'll be able to have another one day.
Sure.
will bless us.
Yeah.
But until that time, about my son, he was born on May the 5th, 2012. And we named him Thomas Kenneth George II after my husband's father.
Okay.
And we were so glad that God gave us the special gift of our son. And little did we know how much this gift would forever change us. Our son was born with blue eyes and blonde hair. And on the outside, he looked like a perfect child. And on the inside, his heart had not formed correctly. His heart condition was called double outlet right ventricle. And with that heart condition comes a few others. So like he had pulmonary atresia with ventricular septal defect, L-transposition of the great arteries, and also dextrocardia. But despite his condition, Thomas's smile would light up a room. He was the absolute love of our lives. He was always a happy and outgoing little boy, and he embraced all sports, especially football, basketball, and he loved to sing and dance. He had this cute little dance that he learned, and we called it the Thomas Shuffle. He would look at himself in the mirror, and he would take the microphone, and he would just sing and dance, and he was just full of life.
That's wonderful.
And because he was, my son, I'm a minister by vocation. He would come to church with me and my family and my husband, and he learned Jesus Loves Me. And that was his favorite song. He loved to sing it with all of his heart. And, we just loved having him there with us. And we were glad that he could have a good time at church and be a part of that community. And during his childhood, though, going back to his condition, in his first year of life, he had to experience two heart surgeries. The first one was the Blaylock to Sing shunt, and he had to experience that about 2 months after he was born. And he got through that surgery successfully, and he was able to come home with us. And we enjoyed having him at the house, and he was able to grow and get stronger. And then we had to take him back after a few months for a second heart procedure. And that one was called a Glenn shunt. And he got through that one. He had some complications afterwards. And he ended up staying in the hospital for a few months. And, it was a really hard time. But he was able to persevere. He got stronger. He got better. And we were able to bring him home. That was such a great thing that we were able to bring him home.
Of course.
He was able to thrive and grow and get stronger and better. And, we were just so thankful that he was able to get through so much and come home with us, because that was just a miracle in itself. I saw God active in his life from his birth through everything he went through, in one way or another. And, after his second heart surgery, he grew. We were able to have him here for a year or 2 years. But the doctors told us that he would need 3 heart surgeries. So, we always were thinking about that third heart surgery in the back of our minds, knowing that he'd have to get through that at some point. So his cardiologist told us that the best time for that to happen would be when he was 3, to give him the best chance at life. So, being Thomas's mom and his, my husband, his father, we had some tough medical decisions to make, but they were all in his best interest. So, we went ahead and said okay, and the doctors put him through the third heart surgery when he was 3 years old. And that was the Fontan procedure, because there was a series of 3 heart surgeries that he had to go through. And so the third heart surgery was the toughest experience that we had to experience. Well, he got through the heart surgery, and his oxygen levels were higher than they had ever been, and we thought he was getting better, and we were excited that he was. But then, a turn of events happened, and he wasn't doing so well. He had ended up catching a infection of some sort from the hospital. We're not sure what the infection was, but there were some other things that happened too, that were making him sick and not well. So he just continually kind of got worse, and unexpectedly he went into cardiac arrest. He coded, and it was a really incredibly hard time.
Claire, what was going on during this time with you? When all this was going on around you, what were you thinking? What were you feeling?
I was feeling helpless. Like, I was the one who ran out of the room to get him help, because I noticed that he was having trouble breathing. So I ran out to go get him help, and the help came back. His cardiac, we were on the PICU unit of UVA hospital. And the people came running down to help him, and he ended up coding. I was outside of the hospital room. I was on my knees. I was up against a nurse and a chaplain, and we were all praying. We were all praying for Thomas, begging God to let him live, and that he would be okay. And what happened was, after he coded, they were able to bring him back, but it took about, I think it was 45 minutes. So he ended up losing his all of his brain function, which was really the saddest part. It's hard for me to share without getting upset sometimes.
Sure, and that's okay to get upset. That's okay. We are so thankful that you're sharing this story, Claire, because your story is helping other people out there. Your story is healing, and it's a story that I'm sorry that your family had to go through.
Yeah, it wasn't easy.
Sure,
but
of course.
But because the doctors were able to bring his heart back, he ended up living for 3 or 4 more days, and so we were able to have some closure time, and that was really important, and I was really thankful that we had some closure, and
of course
right before he passed away, the most interesting thing happened. He left a token of his love. He gave us a big smile.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And so like you wonder, like for me, like I wondered, how can that be? Like, how can you be totally brain dead and like totally give a big smile before you pass away?
Oh, what a gift.
It was a gift. And
what a gift.
It made me think all about heaven, all about Jesus. Going straight to Jesus and just being in his arms,
Absolutely.
So it kind of gave me some comfort, that I would be able to see him again one day. I was just thankful, as being Thomas's mom, the best thing I did, I feel like, for him was to teach him about the love of Jesus.
Claire.
So I rest on that promise that we're going to be able to see him again one day.
Right. Absolutely.
It's going to be a long time from now, but I have faith, and I'm really hoping that this faith will get me through.
Sure.
And
absolutely.
A lot of times when I feel depressed or sad, I just, I go to Jesus and I look on the cross and I remember all of the pain and agony that he had to experience while he was up there on the cross, and how he had his nails and feet nailed to the cross, and
Mm-hmm.
understood that pain. You know, I feel like he was there with me and wept with me.
That's beautiful, Claire. And what a beautiful imagery of healing for you. If you were just joining us, we are here with Claire George, and she's talking about her journey with her son, who had CHD, and how she is healing, and she's growing from that experience. We want to give a quick shout out to Emily, Kelly, Rebecca, Barbara, Reagan, Maggie, and Amanda. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. And if you just joined us again, we're here with Claire George. Claire, what a story. What a, tell us what you're doing now, Claire. This was such a loss. Was this all of a sudden? Did you guys foresee any of this that happened, Claire? Or did you have any idea that any of that, I guess always with surgeries, there could always be complications, but was this a complete shock?
Yeah. We didn't expect to have any complications. He was even getting better after the third surgery, like things were going well for him.
Right.
And we just had no idea he was going to catch an infection at the hospital. And, and so a lot of unexpected things happened, and it caused him to get sick. It caused some things in his digestive system, not to work right, and his esophagus. And he was just, from that infection, and we did not anticipate that happening, and he was getting better, and we were getting excited that we could go home.
Wow.
So it was really hard for us to have to experience that.
Of course. And no parent should ever have to experience what you've experienced. And I think it's beautiful that you look to your faith and you say, and you found that comfort in that. We have a question for you, Claire. First off, Tina in California. We want to say hi to you, Tina, and Kelly, who's in New York. Thank you for joining us. How does it feel, Claire? They want to know, how does it feel to hear that people think you're inspirational?
I appreciate that. It's taken me a while to get to this point. I've had to go through a lot of learning myself in order to get where I am now. And I think it's grief, really. Mm-hmm. I find that grief is a heart doctor. It's like an invisible healer. It helps us to heal our broken hearts. Our broken hearts feel like an indescribable pain of loss when we lose a child, and grief helps our hearts so that we can begin again. And this heart system embraces our deep and painful emotions related to our loss. And I just kind of connect my broken heart and the grief that I've experienced, and I just I pray that as I grieve, that my grief can transform this terrible loss into an experience of a beautiful tribute to the one for whom I'm grieving for.
That's beautiful, Claire. So you're using that grief to create something beautiful, bigger than yourself, and helping others in that process.
Right.
It's amazing. And then, of course, you now are pursuing your ministry, Claire. When this happened with your son, how did that transition into your life of ministry?
Wow, that's a good question. My church knew my son, and the church that I work at, and my family and friends, and I kind of carry his memory with me and so I try to live my life in a way that would bring him joy, like he loved to sing and dance, and I just feel like you could make music and in your life even after a child or someone you love has passed away. You feel like they're looking down on you, and they want to see you happy, so you have to live out your life in a way that can provide that for them.
So you're carrying that memory of your son with you, and from what I understand, honoring him in your work, honoring the memory, honoring who he was on this earth.
And in my mind.
In your mind, yeah. Keeping him alive. Claire, what advice do you have for others who may be in similar situations right now?
Hey, that's a great question. From what I've learned, again, you have to accept the loss. If you can put closure to a loss in some way, it can help you move forward. I've read in some grief books recently that, if you can put one step forward and do something as opposed to nothing at all, that you can get up the next day, you can continue on with your life. If you go back to work, that's helpful. If you start a new hobby, or just doing something as opposed to nothing is a way to start moving in the right direction after you experience such a tremendous loss.
Devastating loss, absolutely.
You got to do it at your own time, and when you're ready to do it, because there's a time before you get to that point where you just feel numb.
Sure.
You just feel like you don't want to get up, you don't want to go anywhere or eat or do anything, but there's something in you, or at least there was something in me that made me want to do this, go forward with something. So that's the first step. And then the second step I would say is to start improving your relationships with people, or even making new relationships. That's really, really helpful. I found that, I've made new relationships since that tragic day.
Sure.
Heart moms with people like you and Kelly, and so many others, and you guys are such huge people in my life, and I'm so thankful for these new relationships and new friends, because a lot of times, you feel broken and all alone, but for me, like I went to God for everything, I poured out my heart to God and had a talk with him, and just kind of went forward from that point.
Sure. I think that's such a very important point there, Claire, is that everyone needs to find something that fulfills them, something that, whether it's going to God, whether it's yoga, whether it's exercising, whether it's, hanging out with your friends and just doing some therapy there, to find whatever it is that brings a wholeness on a much more minor scale, because I'm not even trying to compare it to a loss of a child. When we received the diagnosis of Jacob, it was absolutely devastating for us. And I literally took a month where I just closed myself up from the world. And I said, this is not the way that I envisioned this. And I had to find ways. In fact, this is what I'm doing, Project Just Like You, to help with our family, with just embracing our son. And like I said, I'm not trying to even compare it to the scale of a child loss. I don't know what that's like. And my heart grieves for you, Claire. but but I'm just trying to relate it in the fact of processing of what we all need to do to bring some type of healing and closure in our life and move forward. So thank you for sharing that. We have another question for you, Claire. Kelly asks, what advice can you give to friends and family on how they can support angel families? Do's, don'ts, what's helpful, or what should we be sensitive to? Thank you, Kelly. That's a great question.
Thank you, Kelly. That is a good question. I think what the Mended Little Angels group is doing now is a good thing. Even having a group like that exists is helpful. I've been to a lot of memorial services that have been held in honor of my son. Even, more than one. Like, I've been to 3 or 4, because a lot of times people will keep you on the list, especially at the hospitals that are involved with these things. And so I've been so thankful, for those opportunities, and the things that they're doing to remember the memory of one who has passed away is extremely important. And it's they create beautiful tributes to children, and they're heartfelt, and I've been very thankful for all the things that these groups have done for me and my husband, and so that we can or could remember our son in such incredible ways. So I'm very thankful for what they have done for us, and going forward, probably more of the same, more I'm trying to think, just more of the same good things that they're doing. And like, I don't know, or finding a cause, that you can identify with. Like, for me, it's easy because my son had a heart condition, so it for all of the heart groups I feel most comfortable with, but maybe starting a group around the condition that your child has, and you can honor your child in that way. I'm just trying to think of other things,
Claire, I have a question.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't want to cut you off. Are you?
You're good.
Okay. I am not familiar with what angel family, I have an idea of what I think it is, but I'm not familiar with what angel families are. And I'm sure there's other people in our audience who are not, we're not CHD moms, so we are not sure what. Can you please tell us what an angel family is? Angel family group.
Sure. They have a group called Mended Little Angel. I think it's Mended Little Angels.
Okay.
Yeah, and they gave us like a little frame, that says that my son, a part of my heart is in heaven, and so I got a chance to put my little son's picture in it, and they give us a candle, and it's important too that you can create like tributes, or even like in our house, we've set up a little area where we have Thomas's picture and a little candle, and we light it on special occasions, if his birthday or anniversary or Christmas, and just keep him in our hearts in that way. And a lot of times these groups will post pictures on Facebook and take pictures of their little setup and lighting a candle in remembrance of their loved one. And so, they remember the big days of the ones who have passed away. And that's meaningful to a family. If someone remembered, or if this group remembered my son's birthday, that would be wonderful, and it really makes people happy when you remember their their children who have passed away.
Of course. Yeah. We have a new person who just joined us, Holly. So hello, Holly. We're glad you're with us. There's a comment for you, Claire. Tiffany says, so many people tell me how amazing you are and how absolutely beautiful Thomas was.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
That's a beautiful, isn't it good to know, Claire, that people remember him with so much love and so much, it sounds like the joy that you talk about radiated and people got it. People grasped onto that.
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, he'd never met a stranger, Thomas, and he was always so happy. And I thank you. Thank you very much for that really sweet comment. It's heartfelt and it means a lot. I'm really blessed that he was, that I can call him my son. So
wonderful. And we thank you for all your questions and comments. And if you have a question, we are taking active questions right now. So please feel free to share any questions and comments. And remember, your name is going in for a premium Sweet Frog frozen yogurt. Claire, what resources do you recommend for grieving parents?
I just read a book. Well, actually, a couple of things. Let's see. The first one I could share is one that has helped me is a book called Healing the Heartbreak of Grief by Peter James Fleming. I find that very helpful. Oh my goodness. And throughout my own studies, I have kind of put together a way that has helped me personally as I have been grieving with the thesis that I wrote. I went back to Union Presbyterian Seminary where I got my Master of Divinity from, and I studied theology as a second master's degree program after losing Thomas because I had some big questions that I wanted to explore, and and a lot of the resources in the library there that I was able to read was helped me very much, and I was able to research some of my questions that I had and put together in the thesis that I created. And I am now working with an editor and hope to publish this book pretty soon. So I'm hoping to make it a resource for people who are grieving, who would like to have a mended heart, Mm-hmm. So that's coming out soon too. And,
yes. Yeah. And I'm so glad you talked about that, because that was my next question for you, Claire, was concerning your book. We want to hear about it. You said it started off as your Master in Divinities. This was your thesis, your master thesis, correct?
Right. It was for a theology program.
Okay. Can you tell us about it? Can you?
Yeah, sure.
We'd love to learn more about this.
Let's see. Like in the first chapter, I share my own story, and also I share the story of my son's heart journey, and I go into a lot more depth about it, about what we experienced, and I also have a section where I poured out my heart to God, just rethinking all the questions that I had and wanted to explore. And so I wrote all those out. And then I searched the Bible and went through and tried to find all of the characters who had experienced child loss, like Job and Rachel and David. And just, and I wanted to learn from them, and also Job, and how they dealt with it, and what happened in their lives to help them as they grieved, and And so anyway, so I researched that, and I have a section on that about, and a personal reflection on that. And I also talk about my grieving and lamenting and mourning, and how there are, how you can find help in scriptures with that. And also, I talk about my theology and like the trauma and resilience factor that comes as a result of grieving and going through all of that. Because the last thing that I think about is how God has affinities for new beginnings. So like at the beginning of Scripture, God creates everything that's new. And then at the end of Scripture, at the end of the Bible, God pledges to create a new heaven and a new earth, making all things new. And personally, I look forward to that promise. Mm-hmm. So that's really what I talk about and share about, and look forward to having that book published soon. So, and
awesome.
Having it as a resource for people to help them mend their hearts.
That is fantastic. And how wonderful, again, that you took your grieving and you made it into something bigger than yourself. You made it into wanting to help others, you're helping to heal others and bring them hope in a situation that could be perceived as hopeless. Right. And you turned it around, Claire, and you gave of yourself, and you gave of your faith, and you gave of what impacts you on a daily basis. And I don't think there's anything more beautiful than that. That's a selfless giving. And I love how you've turned this journey with your son and just made this into this beautiful lifetime journey of healing. And you're using that in your work, and you're using that in your ministry. And, you just can't help but to believe that there's always something bigger than ourselves that's going on, something that's on a larger scale. And I'm trying not to cry myself, Claire, because it's a beautiful thing that you've done, and you're reaching out to people, and you're helping them heal.
And it's helping me to heal too.
Yeah, and it's helping you in the process too, because you're giving of something greater than self. Right. So that's amazing. We have another question. We have another question here. What has been some of your favorite CHD advocating activities? This is from Kelly, by the way. Activities or memories?
Oh.
There's a two-part question. So that's the first one.
Okay.
And anything especially helpful in your healing?
Okay. These are great questions.
Yeah.
The first one is, I'd have to say the superhero heart run. That was a really fun time for my husband and I. We got a chance to be a part of that last year. We're hoping to be a part of that again this year. And it's another way that helps in the grieving process too, with exercise and all that good stuff. So, and taking care of your body. It makes me think about my son and being there in his support, mm-hmm. I feel like people can see my son through me, through my husband, and it's a way that we can honor his memory. So that's probably one of the ones that's my most favorite. I love hanging out with Kelly also. And, she has a son just like mine, and who share the same heart condition too. So Kelly, hi. And I love hanging out with her, and we are our stories are similar, and and I don't know, just being in the presence of other heart moms and other heart families is helpful for me, or things that the hospital does, in regards to heart families. And, and I also love the Ronald McDonald House too. They did so much for us, and doing things for them, and just brings my heart joy.
I think that's wonderful. Well, Kelly has a comment, and I think it's the same Kelly. Oh, this is actually a different Kelly.
Okay.
This is a different Kelly, and she is referencing your book, and she wants to say to you, Claire, that she thinks it's amazing and would help so many other families, and she thinks that she mentions that takes a lot of courage. Thank you, Kelly. Go ahead.
Kelly.
Yeah, that was, and it does. It takes a lot of courage, and you're doing that, Claire. You're doing that. So you mentioned the superhero heart run. That sounds like a lot of fun. How could we get involved with that, Claire?
Let's see. I think it's through Mended Little Hearts.
Okay.
Yeah, so you do have to contact them.
Is it across the country, or is it a local thing?
We have one in Richmond that's done every year. And like last year, our son's heart surgeon, Dr. Jimmy, was a part of it. So we got to see him and we got to hear him speak, and he was wearing a cape, and we all got to wear capes.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, so it was fun. And, you meet a lot of people when you're in the hospital going through these kinds of things. And you meet other heart families too. And so we saw so many people that we're friends with, and so many heart families and other people who we love, and we were so happy to be a part of that experience.
That's fantastic. So
it was in Richmond, it was local, it was at Bryan Park.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember if they're going to do that again at the same place this year. I think they are.
Okay. Mended Little Hearts. So that's where if someone wanted to participate, they would go to that. And so what superhero were you? Generic one?
I think I had like a blue cape.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a purple one.
Oh, fun. Purple. That's my daughter's favorite color.
My son Thomas loved Captain America and Hulk and all those great superheroes. So, yeah. Oh,
that's awesome. And again, another way to honor your son.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Again, this is wrapping up our talk with Claire George. If you have any other questions in the meantime right now, we would love to, I'll be happy to ask them. And remember again that every time you ask a question or say a comment, you're entering for a Sweet Frog premium frozen yogurt. Finally, I'm going to ask you one more question here. You talked about it and a little bit here. Your passion is mending broken hearts. What does that mean to you, Claire?
That's a great question. Just mending broken hearts, hearts that are hurting, suffering due to loss or trauma. Our hearts that are dear to mine, because I've gone through trauma. I've gone through heartbreak, indescribable loss. I feel like I'm more connected with people who have experienced those things. I just hope that I can help them through all of this too. And it's helpful for me too, because I learn from them as well, so it's like a two-sided fence. Mm-hmm. In a way, because they're able to help me and vice versa. And you kind of feel more comfortable around those who understand. I've walked the walk, talked the talk, and have experiences, similar things that you have. I feel like I'm very much even more closer to them.
We also, real fast, we want to say hello to Shannon, who just joined us. Hi, Shannon. Claire, if someone wanted to contact you and they want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
You can send me an email. I have a website. It's www.clairegeorge.com. And on my website is an email address. It's heartmom@clairegeorge.com. So yes, that is my email address, and you can contact me on that email address. And also, I have a little space down there at the bottom of my website, and it's a red box. And if you type in your first name and also give me your email address and hit that yellow button, it'll go through, and you will receive weekly emails from me about different topics that have helped me as I grieve, and as a way to help someone else who's going through the same thing. So if you can just include your name and your email address, you can subscribe to my email list and receive communication from me in that way. So so I invite all of these listeners to be a part of that. It's like
absolutely
too. So yeah.
That's great. So they can get weekly emails from you and stay updated and learn resources. And even if it's not you, maybe you know somebody that can connect with Claire, and she can help them in their process, in the grieving process and the living process, growing and healing. Wonderful. This concludes, is there anything else that I haven't touched on tonight, Claire, that you wanted to touch on?
I don't think so. I want to thank you very much for letting me speak tonight and giving me this honor and this opportunity to share, my story and also the story of my son, and I can't thank you enough for giving me this speaking opportunity.
I feel like it's an honor for us to have you on, Claire. You are so real, and you are so honest and raw, and it's a wonderful opportunity for us. And we are so thankful for your voice and for your passion for what you do and all the countless people that your story is helping. So I'm kind of at a loss of words, but thank you, Claire. If you know somebody who would be a great guest for our Movement Mondays, we would please message us on Facebook and let us know who that person is so we can reach out to them. We are starting in March. We have a whole lineup of guests, and we're going to be touching on different topics. And before we get off, Claire, we want you to pick a number between 1 and 30 tonight. This is for the drawing.
Oh, wow. Gosh, I don't know. How about 10?
10. Okay. 10. All right. Drum roll. Who's the lucky person? All right. Thank you. Kelly Blumenthal, you have won the Sweet Frog. Woo! Happy dance, Kelly.
That's awesome.
I think that's so appropriate. Thanks for being part of this tonight. And we are so glad that you won, Kelly. And I will be sending out sometime this week your free Sweet Frog yogurt.
That is awesome.
We want to thank everyone who joined us tonight, Holly and Kelly and the other Kelly and Tina in California and Emily, Rebecca, Barbara, Reagan, Maggie, Amanda. Thank you so much for being part of this tonight. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your comments. And thank you again, Claire. It was a really wonderful Movement Monday tonight. And I think we were all moved by your story.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone who watched tonight. We appreciate all of your support. And join us again for next Movement Monday, where we're going to be interviewing Carissa Garbana. And she is the founder of, she runs Macaroni Kid, and she also does No Different. She's an advocate mom for autism. She has a son who has autism, and she is an incredible voice. And we hope you'll join us again for next Monday. Thank you again, and have a good evening.